We're joined by correspondents Yama Wolasmal in Benghazi now and Jack Barton in Tripoli. To you first, Jack. NATO has increased the number of missions it's flying over Libya. Is this in response to rebel criticism that NATO's not doing enough to protect civilians?
Well, we've certainly noticed the upsurge in NATO missions here in Tripoli. Last night there was anti-aircraft fire coming from all over the city, and today we've been hearing the noise of jets up in the air. But actually we've also seen what looks like a government fighter plane circling the city. We're not sure if that's been sent up to try and engage the NATO planes, or it's just a sort of morale-boosting move for the people of Tripoli to see that the government still can send its planes up in the air. But no, I don't think NATO is really responding to this rebel criticisms, which is focusing around NATO not providing it enough air cover, NATO not doing enough in Misrata, and also NATO not allowing them to fly their own jets. Now, on the first charge, NATO would argue it's not their business to provide air cover. They've been mandated by the UN Security Council to protect civilians. So when there's fighting between the government and the rebels in the desert, they would say that's actually none of their business, and they're not actually allowed to operate in that area. Now, in terms of Misrata, they have upped the number of airstrikes there, but it is very difficult for them to target armour on the ground, because most of this is hidden in or around buildings where there are civilians. Now, if they start going after that armour directly, they will kill a lot of civilians, and probably this no-fly zone will be dismantled by the end of the week. So they have to be very careful there. Now, on the last charge, so they're not letting the rebels fly their own planes. Obviously, they don't want to do this. These are antique aircraft. We've already seen that the ones that have flown missions have been easily shot down by government surface-to-air missiles. But of more concern for NATO is that these are antique aircraft. They're very unreliable and they're not very accurate. And so while NATO is trying to avoid civilian casualties, they know if the rebels begin putting these aircraft in the air, they are likely to cause civilian casualties. So yes, we are seeing an upswing in NATO airstrikes, but no, I don't think it really has anything to do with these criticisms coming from the rebels, which back in Brussels, NATO are probably thinking are quite inappropriate, if not a little bit ungrateful.
OK, Jack. And Yama Wolasmal, who's in Benghazi for us. How have the rebels reacted to NATO's increased airstrikes, and how will NATO's decision help them in their fight?
Well, NATO's decision on increasing the number of air raids here in Libya is, of course, welcomed by the rebels. This is something they've been asking for since the military alliance took command over the no-fly zone and the military actions here in Libya. It comes, of course, after remarkable statements made by the Joint Chief of Staff of the rebel forces, General Abdul Fattah Yunus, who a couple of days ago said he was disappointed in NATO. He said the military alliance wasn't doing enough to protect civilian lives, specifically in western Libya, in cities like Misrata, which has been under siege for several weeks. Yesterday, he went even further when he said he was fed up with NATO. NATO, on its part, of course, has been extremely concerned over the possibility of civilian lives being lost in their air campaigns. They've said that Colonel Gaddafi has adapted to the new situation on the battleground, moving his forces into civilian areas, moving his weapons into towns and cities, making it difficult for them to target him. But on this issue, the rebels really have a different take. They seem to be okay with the loss of some civilian life as long as the air raids reduce Colonel Gaddafi's military capability, making it possible for them to advance on the ground westwards and hopefully, as they say, dislodge him from power. The fact that NATO will now take a more aggressive role on the battleground is welcomed by the rebels, and this is exactly what they've been asking for.
OK.